Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Numair Shahzada, and I am the marketing manager here at the National Incubation Center. Thank you for joining in for another informative session in our series of webinars with the SECP Innovation Office. This session specifically is titled Collateral Management Companies and Electronic Warehouse Receipt. We're all set for this session, and it will be led by Zeeshan Nawaz, who has been associated with the SECP for more than 14 years. He has extensive experience in regulating REITs, pension funds, lending NBFCs, and commodities. He has contributed to many groundbreaking initiatives pertaining to commodities such as collateral management companies regulation and the launch of the electronic warehouse receipts. The electronic warehouse receipts regime is relatively new in Pakistan. It not only serves to provide state-of-the-art storage facilities and helps facilitate access to formal banking credit for farmers, depositors of produce. Trading of EWRs as a commodity exchange is going to serve as a one window of operations for storage, financing, and trading for agricultural commodities. So very valuable. And we will be taking questions at the end of the session. So please make sure to continuously share. And I would now like to hand over the mic to Zeeshan Saab. Thank you so much for joining us. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you very much, Numair, for this introduction. I welcome all of you to this introductory session on the electronic warehouse regime. And I hope that at the end of the session, you'll be able to understand how the regime works, especially in connection with its usefulness to the farmers, preserving the agricultural produce, and providing an end-to-end solution to the agricultural supply chain. So the ultimate objective, of course, was to maximize the capacity and reduce financial distress faced by small farmers in particular. So I just need to share my slides. Can you please confirm if you can share, if you can see the slide that I've just shared?
Yeah, they're visible, but you could switch to full screen if that is possible.
You can see them, right? Over here.
Yes, brilliant.
Okay. Okay. To help you develop a basic understanding of the EWR regime, I would first let you know that what the EWR receipt system actually is and how it functions in the context of the depositors of produce and its linkages with alleviating the distress faced by a lot of farmers in our country, especially, the small farmers. Typically, the warehouse receipts are the currency of agriculture, which essentially means that a receipt in hand, with a receipt in hand, the farmers may negotiate the sale of their crop and transfer title with ease. So in a nutshell, the EWR regime was basically envisaged to solve some of these inherent issues in our agricultural ecosystem. These problems predominantly emanated from the financially crippling issues faced by the farmers. SECP, of course, in cognizance of these issues, initiated an in-house exercise perhaps 2-3 years back, and in order to replicate the EWR receipt regime that is already in practice in some of the international jurisdictions, to solve some key issues that are mentioned in my slide. The first one being the lack of adequate storage facilities available to farmers. The second one was the access to formal lending channels. And the third one was the lack of adequate liquidity, particularly in the case where there was excess demand. So basically, we were trying all these to solve all these issues, the core issues that were inherent to our that were inherent in our agricultural ecosystem. The objective was to, of course, address all these under one umbrella, so that we have a holistic solution to all these problems. For the background, a lot of underdeveloped and developing countries like Uganda, Ethiopia, and South Africa have already adopted this regime, including some developed countries like US, UK. And as you might know, that the small scale farmers have always struggled to pay their loans. They often sell off their goods when harvest season begins, so they can hold on to their crops until the lean season. So however, it was improper. The improper preservation or drying techniques that were available, coupled with the inadequate storage facilities, compounded the problem for these farmers. So what they did was they were forced to sell all these produce to the commercial traders, or which are more commonly called the RTs, and reap the rewards of seasonal price springs afterwards. So basically what we were trying to do is that with the use of the warehouse receipt financing, which is also known as the inventory credit, small farmers gained an advantage on the playing field. Experience from around the world quite clearly illustrated that the warehouse receipt regimes can make a difference to the farmers. They allowed them to store their goods at a reliable warehouse until the prices increased, and while using the goods as loan collateral, and farmers therefore could access the funds available with the formal lending institutions. So what happened was that the warehouse receipts, which are often administered to producer groups instead of individuals, which help the flow of market information, the warehouse receipts, they created a price transparency of sorts. So this empowered the farmers more to make informed sales rather than forced sales, which has been the norm up till now, until this solution of the EWR receipts was envisaged. Right. Can you see my first slide quite clearly?
So we're on the cover slide right now.
Oh,
yeah. And now it's full screen.
Now it's full screen.
Now it's slide 1.
Okay. So the pressing need over here was to find a solution to these issues that would pave way for the elimination of post-harvest losses, most importantly. And this elimination of post-harvest losses would ultimately translate into enormous financial gains for the farmers. Secondly, it was to provide the farmers the maximum profitability by allowing them to store their produce at times of market distress and sell them at a later period when the prices had improved. So the regime therefore considerably eliminates the price anomalies that exist in agriculture value chain and save these small farmers from distressed sale of the commodities. Another aspect was that the holding of produce by farmers would create a financial gap, that, as we understood, that when they had this produce stored in the warehouse and did not sell it and just hold it on for a period where the produce prices were to improve, this would create a funding gap of sorts, because they need to keep on cycling this the funds that they have available by selling this produce. So what we envisaged is that the formal lending sources could be partners to this regime and make up for this funding gap, allowing these farmers to afford the luxury of storing this produce and sell it at a later time when the prices have improved. Lastly, this would also allow farmers to take loans from formal sources, and this would shield them from the exorbitant lending rates that are available at informal lending channels. All right, for the background, I would just like to walk you through the overview of the progress of the EWR regime at SECP. SECP was, as like I just mentioned, was always key to fully operationalize the EWR regime in Pakistan. EWR is, of course, a digital instrument which is integrated with the PMX, which is the Pakistan Mercantile Exchange, offering access to farmers and eligible investors for trading on the country's commodity exchange. And we just envisage that the EWR can also be used as eligible collateral for obtaining the financing and simultaneously traded out at PMX. So the technological advancement, which was already in place, provided us an opportunity to develop an ecosystem for not only storing, but also preserving, trading, and financing a range of these agricultural commodities. The initiative was, of course, to promote financial inclusion of small farmers, which was previously non-existent, and help improve the storage and handling standards to reduce post-harvest losses that as I just mentioned. SECP thus issued the CMC regulations, the Collateral Management Companies regulations, in July 2019 to help develop an ecosystem for storing, preserving, and trading of these commodities. And subsequently, in September 2020, we started the process of finalizing the amendments to the CMC regulations based on market feedback and the impediments that they mentioned. Simultaneously, of course, work after the promulgation of the CMC regulations in 2019, the first ever CMC, by the name of Collateral Management Company, was registered. Rather, it was firstly accorded its NOC for incorporating a public limited company, and after it had already met all the conditions, was given license, or more formally what we call as the registration, in September 2020 rather. Here I also want to add that the State Bank of Pakistan had already amended its prudential regulations because we were interacting with the State Bank of Pakistan simultaneously to include the EWRs as an eligible collateral. And subsequently, SECP amended the Secured Transactions Act to add the EWRs in the list of title documents. So we pretty much covered both the aspects, where the banks could lend against the EWRs, and SECP could, sort of assist in its foreclosure through the Secure Transaction Act. In January 2020, as I just mentioned, Namath Collateral Management Company was granted the NOC, and after that, after the two-tiered process, the company was licensed by SECP. After the promulgation of the CMC regulations, as I just mentioned, the amendment had to take place very soon because there were certain practical issues that were highlighted by the working group, comprising of the key stakeholders. And then we got PMEX, Pakistan Agriculture Coalition, CDC, and a donor agency on board to help us, reformulate and redesign the regulations to considerably lower the barriers that were perceived by the market. In August 2020, as I just mentioned, the Namath collateral was then registered, and subsequently, SECP, in collaboration with Pakistan Mercantile Exchange, initiated the efforts to kickstart and fully operationalize the regime. It's important to highlight that the CMC is mandated to have its own set of COPs, SOPs, and warehousing guidelines that are approved by the Commission for consistency only. This was done in January 2021, and thereafter, certain commodities were also identified that would fit into this regime, and SECP had the first set of six commodities that were approved. I can just walk you through them. These include yellow maize, the super basmati paddy, long grain paddy, super basmati mill raw rice, super basmati brown rice, and long grain mill raw rice. Namath Collateral issued the first EWRs against the super basmati paddy and super basmati mill raw rice in somewhere around March 2021, and thereafter, subsequently, probably in April or May, the maize crop EWR was also issued. Up till now, if I walk you through these statistics, EWRs issued by Namath have been 407, out of which more than 95% have been pledged, and banks are lending against these EWRs. Approximate value of the total pledged commodity is 346 million, as the slide shows, and the quantity of total pledged commodity was around 10,000 metric tons. Subsequently, after the launch of the CMC regulations, the system usage agreement was signed by 25 banks with Namath, and so they are now part of this EWR regime and are actively financing against them. Okay, just to give you a bit of more introduction and the basics of the EWR regime, if you can see the slide. the CMC is first registered by SECP, and it starts the accreditation process only after it is formally registered. The SOPs and warehousing guidelines are formulated by the CMC and are submitted to the Commission only to approve the consistency, right? Like the following CMCs would be registered, and they would be carrying out their activities in light of the SOPs and warehousing guidelines that are now standardized based on the standardization process that we carried out. And then the core objective of these SOPs and the warehousing guidelines is to formulate a basic standard that allows for technical and operational outlook of the warehouses that are operating in this regime. The interacting parties are, of course, the depositor of the commodity or the produce, which is most commonly the farmer, the Pakistan Mercantile Exchange, which is an entity where these EWRs are traded if they want, and then the participating bank, which also has an account with the CMC system, in the safe, and the whole pledging and the title transfer process takes place on the EWR system that is provided by the CMC to the warehouse operators. The EWR system flow, as the slide shows, is I can just walk you through that as well. The account opening process is done with NAMIT, where the farmer or the depositor of produce or the holder of the EWR opens up an account. The storage agreement is thereafter signed with the warehouse, and the commodity is finally deposited. Once the commodity is deposited, the CMC, the warehouse operator, approves the quality specifications, and on the basis of these quality specifications, it grades and deducts the produce that is available. The produce is, of course, weighed, and then finally the EWR is issued in the name of the depositor of produce. They are generally stored in silos in the commingled form, and the banks also open the account and sign a financing agreement with the depositor. And in case he wants to pledge the produce in favor of the bank, he can avail the financing facility. Right. Going forward, what we see is that the SECP plans to review the CMC regulations for any other operational impediments that may exist. Of course, we are in collaboration with the industry, and they are in consultation with us to remove certain or to make certain soft amendments in the regulations, which we're considering. And we are hopeful that in the next few years, we'll be able to facilitate the market participants and trigger the growth of the regime by making these minute adjustments to the regulations. At the moment, however, it is in the process of finalizing a review of the SOPs and warehousing guidelines based on the industry feedback. We're working with NAMIT Collateral to adequately amend the SOPs and warehousing guidelines, which should be off the shelf very shortly in about a week or so. And a very important item on the SECP's reform agenda is also to approve the contract specifications of other commercially viable commodities, which include the guar seed, which is a gum, which is a fiber that the seeds of the which is a fiber from the seed of the guar plant, and it has a lot of medicinal properties as well as can be used for fodder by the animals. We are considering fresh dates. We're considering millet, which is used across the world as a cereal crop. And we're also considering induction of certain essential commodities, such as oil-rich seeds, including rapeseed, the sunflower seed, and black gram. SECP has also advised the Futures Exchange and NAMIT to jointly carry out a study to finalize the quality standards, and they have already submitted the quality standards to SECP, which are under review. Lastly, we are facing some certain challenges at the moment, which I'd like to highlight. First of all, the product, as you know, is still in its nascency, And we need a lot of awareness campaigns to be run to, in order to have a significant impact. The EWRF regime has, of course, a lot of potential to bridge the funding gap experienced by small farmers, especially in remote areas which do not have access to formal storage, nor do they have access to the formal lending sources. So over there, they are they're forced to sell the produce to middlemen at very low prices. So what we need to do is we need to ensure that we have a greater network, a considerably greater outreach, and for this we need to address some core issues by the FIs, which include development of a standardized insurance product, which SECP is also working on. The way forward is to increase the storage capacity through construction of new warehouses. For this, of course, the industry as a whole needs financial support, which would for which the government or the international donor agencies have a very important role to play. We need an increased number of commodities that we are trying to work on to develop a broader range of commodities depending on where they grow, and of course certain refinement in the SOPs and warehousing guidelines. So we are trying to settle all these issues before in order for the regime to reach its full potential. So that's about it from my side. If you have any questions, then I'm open to those.
Thank you so much, Zeeshan, for a very informative session. And I hope that the audience found it valuable. We do have a couple of questions on electronic warehouse receipts. For one, where can farmers get training on using the WRs? Is that something?
That's a very good question. At the moment, there's not a particular agency that provides training, but of course, NAMIT, the only licensed agency, is providing them that training. We're still in the process of engaging donors to chip in and, of course, contribute to provide this awareness, which of course is lacking because it's a nascent product. But NAMIT, I know for a fact, is doing good at the moment by engaging a lot of farmers and asking them to open accounts with NAMIT and training them to use their software as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Another question we have is what are the pricing and packages? Is that defined at this point?
Yeah. There's the fees is the fees related to the CMCs. They are just set up by the commission. At the moment, it's I think quite on the lower side, and they've approached us to probably consider revising it upwards. But at the moment, the accreditation charges are $150,000. The 150,000 rupees, sorry, 150,000 rupees for a single accreditation. We just wanted a lot of people to come in, so there are no entry barriers. So we know that we have kept it on the lower side, and probably the CMC is taking a lot of the financial loss that comes out of it at the moment. But I think it should be revised upwards. As far as the fee for the depositor produce and trading, it is also set by SECP.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question we have is, do the storage facilities have cooling systems as well for produce other than maize and rice, for example, for the storage of fruits and vegetables?
At the moment, we don't have any fruit or vegetable in the regime, but we're considering incorporating, introducing certain more commodities, like as I just mentioned, dates. They would need certain specialized type of warehouses that would have the storage facilities available. And I just had a meeting with the collateral management company, and they assured me that they're considering to, get on board more warehouses that have these facilities, so that to produce that has a very short lifespan can be also considered for to be boarded onto the regime.
Brilliant, brilliant. And we have our final question. This is a question and sort of a request as well, that is there a mobile app of some sort that is developed for this or would potentially be developed in the future to help monitor the status of the produce?
I don't think there's a mobile app at the moment, but of course, Namath has the online portal available at the moment. But I would presume this is a good suggestion. I'll note it down and I'll ask them if anything can be done about making an app as well, so that the farmers can access them through the smartphones available with them.
Wonderful, wonderful. Zeeshan Saab, thank you so much for being here with us today at the NIC and with our startups and our guests. Thank you for sharing this valuable information. As always, if anyone would like more information on this, you can directly reach out to the SECP Innovation Office or to us here at the NIC, and we will pass along your questions or requests.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening. Thank you, guys.
Take care. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.